Well, in this video, we're gonna talk about this project .xml, which is with all the controls and settings for an EGP file. It's the same for version 8 and version 7 file. It's always all the settings and controls are in this project.xml. Despite the structures are a little bit different in both versions of the files. I have a great tool here, which is jsonformatter.org. So there, the site provides an XML tree view so that you can copy the XML code there, and then you can view the tree, which is very handy to illustrate the structure of an XML file. So I have two XML file. So this one is the project.xml from an EGP version 8 file. So this is on the left. On the right is a version 7 file. So I can compare these two side by side. You can see that for the base structure is pretty much the same, except that some of the structures is different. For example, like if you scroll down, there are more tags in this version 8 file. And again, if later we're going to dive into the individual structures, you will see that it's a little bit different. All right, so briefly, so all of these tags are wrapped by this project collection, okay, by this project collection tag. Okay, so then inside there are some important tags. The first is like there is an element. This is to indicate the properties of this project. For example, the label, who created it, when it was created, whatever. Okay, so this is the element part. And then scroll down. So this external file list is very important. So inside it shows it lists out all the external files. So an external file is a file that is not going to be run by SAS, for example, an Excel file, PDF file. So a SAS code is not an external file in this definition, so it will not be here. So in our case, remember that what I have is an Excel file, so I will have one external file tag here in which there is a bunch of things to define this external file. Okay, so if we have more like multiple files, like an Excel file, a PDF file, a doc file, then you will have three. In that case, you will have three external file tags here. So you can see that this is the same for both the version 8 and version 7 file. So I'm going to just go ahead. So if it is similar, then I'm not going to repeat that. So I'm just going to focus on this version 7. Then the next important tag is this elements. Basically, it holds all the elements for different components. For example, in this Excel, in the CGP file example, so this is one element, this is another, this is another. So these are the elements. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to have 16 different elements. Okay, so if you go into the list, you will find that so each element is going to have subtags and have its children nodes or subtags or whatever. So I'm going to call that a component. For example, like this one, let's see, so it indicates a PFD, which is a process flow. All right, so in this example, we see that actually there are two process flows. This is one, and this is another. So the first one, the second one. Okay, so these are the process flow elements or components. Okay, so there are more. For example, like this one is for a code task. Okay, so it is for the things like this program, one or the other, whatever. So So basically, these are different components, each for different different part of, or the different component in this EGP file. Okay, so this part is very important. Okay, so and then after that, so it has a container list, and basically this one is to indicate the process flows. For example, in our case, we have two process flows, so there will be two IDs here. Okay. So the next important one will be this external objects. Okay, so in which there are two things. The first is called project tree view. The second is called process flow view. Okay, so in the first one, it has the thing called EG tree nodes, and basically this is to define the view here. So this is called the project tree, which is the EG tree, and inside it's going to define, so starting from this process flow 1, then there will be a program folder, all right, so in which there will be the icons to indicate which element, which component that it indicates to. So this is for this EG tree node. So it has a special structure. So you will see that all of the programs, including those shortcut to external programs, are listed in the programs subfolder. But for the rest of the shortcut to a file, the nodes, the EG task, which are the copy file tasks, are listed directly under the process folder. So these are the ways of that SAS, the SAS version 7 works. But for version 8, it will be a little bit different. But I'm not going to go into the details. So I'm going to focus on the structure of a version 7 file. Okay. So this part is for the project tree view. Okay. So after that, there is another one called the process flow view, and this one is to control the display of the process views in this big area. Okay, so it will start from this definition of the zoom, and then whether or not it is going to show grid or whatever, and then it's going to dive into this graphics, which are very important. So basically, according to what I have, those types here, if you don't count in those logs and shortcut to files, then basically there are two different types of graphics. So each icon here is called a graphic. So there are two types. One is the task graphic. The other is called the node graphic. Okay. Well, actually, all of them except this nodes are all called the task graphics. So like a program is a task graphic, a EG task is, and also and shortcut to an outside file is also a task graphic. All right, so all of these task graphics are going to list here. So in this part, in the version 7 file, actually it is not it does not specify which process flow it belongs to. All right, so all of the, is that the same? Let me just check. Yeah, so it does not discriminate the process flow, and because each task is going to have their own ID, and they have a container ID for which process flow it belongs to. So actually, the SAS is going to find the parent P process flow and put it there. So that is for version 7. Actually, for version 8, it's a different story. It does not have this. I think it does not have this task graphic. It is different structure. I'm not gonna go into the details. but because this part is a little bit important because we still have to find out this graphics and in this version 8 file when doing the conversion. So I'm just gonna briefly talk about that here. All right, so the difference in version 8 is that it treated it differently. So in version 8, it says that for all these external objects, actually I don't know why it's called external again. Basically, it is talking about the tree views and flows. It is going to put under one control manager, all right? So, and in this one manager, it is going to list out all the process flows. In our case, we have 2, right? And for each one, for example, for the first one, then it is going to have a thing called the graphic objects, all right? So in this graphic objects, it has task graph. Sorry, so it does have task graphics, but it is in a different folder. All right, so it has task graphics, and it also has note graphics. All right, so this part is kind of tricky. It is different. So like in version 8, it is version 8 is arranged like this, but in version 7 it is different. So the tree and flows are listed out separately. Sorry, I have to correct that again. So for both versions, the tree and the graphics are listed separately. But for version 8, it's going to start from this process flow, which is this part, not the tree view part yet, this part. Okay, so what it's going to do is that it's going to put it under this process flow control manager. In which there is a process flow control state, in which there is a graphic objects, and then you have the task graphics and node graphics. This is in version 8. In version 7, what it has is it's called instead of this process flow control manager, it is called the process flow view. Okay, so in which it has graphics, and then you have the task graphics and node graphics. That part is similar. Yeah, but the parent folders are different. Okay, so this is for the process flow. For the tree view, which is this part, in version 8, it is put into it was put in the external object is called open project view. Okay, so in which it has the one called the tree items, and then it's going to list out all the tree items here. All right, so for a version 8 file, it is going to control, again, it's going to control the tree view here, but it's going to list out like this. Okay, but in version 7, it's different. It is going to be in this project tree view instead of this tree view, whatever. All right, so and in which the structure is kind of a messy. So it's going to start from an EG tree node. Basically, this is nothing. This is just to show the I think it is to show the overall tree view, in which you're going to have 2 EG tree nodes, each for a process flow, right? And then in each process flow, again, it's going to have different EG trees. Again, it is going to have a nested structure. So and also, yeah, this part is really a mess. So it has an overarching projects folder, which is here, and then it's going to discriminate the type of the graphics for those programs, and shortcut to programs is going to put it here. But for the rest of that, like shortcut to a file, to an external file, a note, and whatever, are going to put outside this program folder. So there will be a nested and multi-layers of this EG tree node. I think this part is really confusing, and that's why. So in version 8, the change was made to flatten the structure here. All right, so for the rest of that, it's kind of similar. So these are basically, we see that for the structure, the folder structures, there's a little bit different. And the difference determines that we cannot open a version 8 file by the SAS version, SAS-EG version 7. Okay, so but actually there are more tiny differences, the tiny settings inside these each of this component. I'm not going to go into the details. For example, like the for this project collection, it has a type called SAS Element Management. This is for version 8, whereas in version 7 it is called Element Project Collection. So these are an example. This is an example of the differences. There are more differences inside. So this is why we need a program to read the settings from a version 8 file and turn that or translate that into the setting for a version 7 file. This is the basic concept behind this conversion. All right, so for the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure, a detailed structure of this version 7 project.xml file, because this is the part, this is the important part that we're gonna make.